Hey guys, it's Andrew Dwight. Hey, Plus Design Build, you guys, thanks very much for doing beta testing for us, and so we've got some really helpful feedback from you. I just want to quickly talk about the goal, what it is that we're trying to achieve, and most of you would probably use different parts of PlusSpec. I am going to touch on estimating and a few of the reasons why, but the goal is basically we want to connect the dots from design through to construction all the way to the work site. Now, the model that we're looking at here has actually been done by Sam Langler, and she's done a brilliant job. She's a building designer. She's not an estimator, but does a great job with design, and maybe we can connect everyone together and share workloads. When you're too busy, it's good to get it done, and when you're not busy enough, you might be able to help us out. We've got some exciting things coming in 2020 that I'd like you all to be involved in. All right, so essentially, as you know, that the model can be used for walkthroughs and everything that's required, walking through houses. I think you get all that, and it can show clients what it is they're going to build. And some of you are using it for your 2D documentation, and Sam has done working drawings with this for a reputable building company. And we might probably get into that today, but basically, you know, at that stage we're at design, customer presentation, probably sales of service for a designer, but more like sales of building or construction projects for builders. Uh, and I guess that's where this model would be. However, Sam's done a pretty good job of this, especially considering that she isn't a builder and she got into the structural side of things. She's done all the trusses. She even battened out the concrete for the decking areas and so on. And this is a good example of what a building designer can do. And I think probably what you don't or may not understand being a building designer is how much value this has to a builder. And as I said before, I'm going to get into the estimating side of it a little bit more. Okay, so you can simply hide an estimate and or close an estimate, and if you're going to continue to work on an estimate, I do recommend actually hiding it. When you're estimating, everything that is shown at the moment, I have all, as you notice there, all selected, so everything that's inside of the drawing, all bar landscaping or things that aren't required for a price can be inside of the project. And when I click estimate, I might only want to estimate the roof. If that's the case, I would select the roof and I would only estimate visual geometry. However, everything that's visible at the moment I want to estimate, so I'm going to go generate a report and take a second. There's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes here, and usually it takes, for a model this size, you'll see 10-15 seconds. Okay, still going. All right, what have we got out of a model? For a builder, the value of this information is high. However, from a building designer, using it for a quote is kind of hard because we all have our own pricing and so on, and how to go about putting in. So we did make that a lot easier. So essentially, you can export a takeoff up here, and you can export everything that's inside of the model, and you can fill the spreadsheet in, and you can re-import it, and you can get all your prices in one go. I personally like to go through an estimate one by one, and you'll notice over here that there are 2 purchase orders that have been done. And basically, a bill of quantities is one thing, but actually getting that bill of quantities through to a supplier is another. So if I actually open up, say, this concrete purchase order, it's telling them what I expect them to deliver, what size materials they need to do, and what I want them to do in the project. It's also got prices associated with it. Now, I didn't import a spreadsheet on this one, I just quickly did it. So I'm just going to quickly go to slab, and we're going to have a look at what's inside of here. So we've got the membrane, which is basically underneath the slab. That's a material-based product that's turned up, and we buy it by the roll. So you'll notice that I haven't said that I need 308 meters. I just said that I actually need per roll. And you can put these quantities in here. There is a bug there at the moment, and you will come across that, and it'll be fixed in the next release. The concrete, just supplying concrete is a concrete supplier. However, installing concrete or installing anything is a concrete installer. Okay, so you'll notice down the bottom here, I've added certain things, and these are recipes. So perimeter treatment would be, say, termite barrier or so on. So you might not actually use termite barrier in your walls, and I actually, depending on the project, I might use termite barrier in walls. However, I think that sometimes it's easier just to use your fascia and gutter for that estimate. These items are associated with it. So you notice that I had rebar in there before. So you can type in whatever you want to here, and you can use a cost code. So if you are building, you will probably be using cost codes with your point of sale software, whether it be QuickBooks, Xero, or whatever it is. And I suggest that you actually export your cost codes into PlusSpec by importing them. Up here, export or import, you can import, sorry, here, cost codes. Import cost codes, and basically what that means is that the information you're creating inside of PlusSpec will line up with your point of sale software, so that at the end of the year you don't have a shoebox full of receipts. Essentially, when you create a purchase order to a subcontractor, it's an agreement between you as a builder and the subcontractor of what you expect them to do and how much money you're going to pay them. And if we just went back to, say, our summary and looked at that particular one here, you'll notice that it also has notes in there. And I basically put in a standard note for everyone. Safety is our number one priority. Please ensure you clean up after yourself and report potential safety issues before starting. And it's probably a good thing for all builders to have in. However, you might also want to say, well, I needed to comply to AS1684. And you can do that inside of a spreadsheet as well and upload them to associated trades. The main thing is that we're actually delivering, I guess, a contract of work, and you might even write in things like upon invoice you agree that everything will be done as according to for legal reasons. The main thing is that this was actually produced from the 3D model. There's no going to Excel, there's no going to anywhere else, and that's something that's been very difficult for us to achieve. However, we've done it. So it would be good for you to try out creating a purchase order, and what I might do is I might actually go through and have a look at, say, something that we've got to do here, which I haven't created a purchase order for. I've got my hardwood decking, it's supplied by a lumberyard, and essentially you could order 49.849 square meters of decking, or you could divide it by the number of sticks per square meter, or you could click here and you could the meters squared per unit. So for instance, if a 130 millimeter board was a meter long, you'd have 0.13 of a meter, and you can type that in here. So essentially this is associating the units per meter or the meters per unit, and that makes a huge difference to how we go about ordering things, and we'll probably get into more depth in that in our tutorial stage, but give it a try. I think it does make sense, and it's very easy to change with that little lug there. Also, we're going to have people applying decking oil and painting and so on, but it's going to be a different vendor. A vendor is a trade, and these can also be imported from your point of sale software. And that would be the same thing up here, vendors, import vendors, and essentially when you click on it, let's see if I've got one here without a vendor here, you can just type in, you can click on them like I just did, or if you made a mistake like I just did, you can type in a letter and it will sort by the letter, or you can type in, whatever it is. So if I said I wanted this to be supplied by a hardware, you would notice that it's gone hardware in general or hardware company, right? I can associate a markup. So for instance, your buy price is very handy for you to know. However, the price to the client is something you don't want the client to see how much markup you've got on, unless it's a cost plus job. So I'm going to say 20%. You might negotiate a better rate with your subcontractors, and you might put 25 or 30, whatever it is. And down here's contingency as well. For instance, putting the deck on, what are we at? We're at fix and screw the deck at 2,400. You've still got to buy the materials, which is 2,700. You know what? I think that's more than enough. But you might think, well, it's a little bit difficult, and put in some contingency for yourself. And whatever that might be, it might be a difficult site. you can I put in $5,000 there, and you'll notice that it's accounting contingency according to the project. There are some other things that are important for you to see as well, and that would be show more. So for instance, inside of this slab, it has 4 different items. And what I'll do is I'll put this over the side here. When you've got a larger model, sometimes it's difficult to find what it is inside of the model. And you'll notice there that what PlusSpec did is it hid the rest of the model, and usually you do this on 2 screens because it's easier. It hid the rest of the model but kept the hidden geometry on. And the reason why we did that, so you can locate the item, understand where it is, and then you can go view hidden geometry and you can turn that off. Now I can look at the slab, I can look at my estimate and figure out, well, do I want to add any more contingency to my concrete? Is that slab pretty easy to do? Or I might just want to double check my quantities. It's a really good way to find things inside of a model, and you will get that with components as of next year. Right. You'll also go, well, how do I get everything back? There's a little green button here that says show all, and essentially what that button does is it turns everything back in the model. There are some more improvements that are going to be happening here, you'll see before we release, but by all means give us any feedback that you may like to. Alright, now I did mention that I was going to go into my flooring and talk about my decking and actually create some purchase orders. And you'll notice I've already associated lumberyard, so I might actually go to something I haven't done. Steel beams, if I want to find that steel beam, I would click here and it will find in the model. I'll quickly show you again. Right, and then if I went view hidden geometry, I can actually see where it is. Right, now I might want to put steel posts in or whatever it is. However, that's what's going. Go back to show all, you'll see your whole model and you can understand what it is. But I do need to put who do I buy the steel beam from. I'm going to type in steel. I don't know who my steel manufacturer is. One Steel right there, and I'm going to need a crane to actually lift the steel beam, I'm assuming. So you'll notice it's got a tick here, so if I untick it, it won't be included in my estimate. If I do click it, it will be included in my estimate. And I might also need one for my roof trusses, but you know, you can add these or not. But I think the main thing is I want to add a vendor. So let's see what if I've got in vendors. I haven't got anything there for cranes. Who do I use? I think I use Borgia. Yep, okay. And you can type in whatever you want to and add a cost code if you want to. I've just used layers and imported my layers because I know we all use different cost codes, but you can create more layers or you can create cost codes and import them as they are. I'm not going to put a cost code in this one. I am going to put a markup on it of 20%. I need one crane lift on the job at $350. I'm now going to create a purchase order. Generate reports. And I'm looking for Borgia cranes. I was lucky as a bee there, and I go generate. You get a little prompt here that says you have an associated cost code. You know, as I said that before, and it's given me crane hire level 2 frames or steel beams, but you know what, I actually just want steel beams, and it's going to be level 1. So change it. You can change what's in here, and once you've done that, you can save it. You can also give it a delivery date. I might want it on Christmas Day. That'll be expensive. 19. And I can save that report. Once I save that report, it'll actually go back into the summary tab, so you can go back and check what you've actually allocated to a subcontractor. Now I do know when I was building, the more purchase orders we created, the more organized we were. So for instance, if I was busy doing a whole heap of things, here's my purchase order here. Right? If I was doing a lot of work, it's very difficult to get time to go and make a phone call and then send over, you know, some documentation to say, hey, we're going to pay you for this job. If it's done first and you follow through each tab and create your purchase orders accordingly, you'll be so much more organized at the point that it comes to delivering the project. I found that before I got organized, I was spending more time on site solving errors and issues than I was actually talking to my customers to sell more jobs or get more designs. So from a designer's perspective, delivering this to a builder, you are doing so much work for him. It has a lot of value. And I do understand that there's a bit of a rift between designers and architects and builders and so on. However, this brings you back together, because if you think about it in a logical way, when you're actually designing for one-off customers, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to get repeat work. However, if you're designing for a builder, they're always going to have more work, and vice versa. So for instance, a builder's going to a customer, goes, hey, I'm too busy to design. You know, you can get a good relationship and a good niche going. And I think this drawing that Sam's done here is a good example of how that would happen, because me looking at it from a builder's perspective, I'm going, wow, this has saved me a lot of work, and therefore it's valuable to me. All right, so moving forwards, you'll notice that we can look here, and as my windows here, it's going to give me a breakdown in the show more of every window that's inside of here. And you can copy and paste this and put it into layout if you wanted to, or into a quotation request. But once you've done that and you've received the price back, how do you put it into your windows? You're not going to go in and put a window price in for every single window. I would use fixed price. Okay, so here you'll notice, and this will change, that you can go through and you can add in a fixed price for your windows, and that makes a huge difference to the way you would set that purchase order out. So you can have every window that's required, and you can associate a fixed price. You will see some changes there. Any feedback's much appreciated. And that's the same for everything. Trusses is probably a good example. Roof trusses, you don't pay for a truss individually. What you would do is you would associate a fixed price. And you can notice I've already done one there. And I only made up these figures. There's two items that are separate here inside of it, and you know, you can just say fixed price here for this one here, and you can type it in. So you might have got a quote back from 3 frame and truss companies, and the cheapest was $4,500, right? Then when I go and create a purchase order, I'm going to choose frame and truss supplier here and go generate. Yes. And it's outlined everything that's required, but I also have a fixed price at the bottom. Therefore, I can actually send this off to the frame and truss company. This is what I'm expecting to get out of it, and if they have any feedback, they can come back to you. You can send the purchase order, and away you go. You can also delete what's in here as well. Go save. All right, it'll go back. It'll store that inside of things. So give it a try out, see what you think, give us any feedback. I have found some things that I want to be changed, but they're more usability things, not so much functionality. So by all means, give it a try, guys. Some real-time feedback would be handy for the designers and the architects and the estimators. I'm no doubt you can see some of the benefits there as well. Thanks very much for your participation in beta, guys, and I look forward to talking to you in 2020. Cheers.